The Bible teaches that 4,500 years ago, my sources dated around 2350 BC, there was a global flood. Most of us are taught about Noah, who built the ark, and about how that he and his wife and his 3 sons and their 3 wives were the sole survivors of this global flood. And not long ago, I was talking to a believer, and we were discussing the evidence for God as it relates to the Bible. And I brought up the account of Noah's flood, and the other believer said, well, of course, I believe in the biblical flood account, but every time I bring it up with unsaved friends, they just scoff. Sadly, that's true of many professing Christians as well. They scoff at the biblical account and claim that it's not necessary to believe in a literal global flood a few thousand years ago. Among those taking that position are well-known teachers and apologists like a man named Hugh Ross, William Lane Craig, Francis Collins, and anyone affiliated with BioLogos Forum. If these men believe the gospel and have been born again, they're saved, they're Christians, but they are still no less deceived. They are placating unbelievers and unbelieving scientists specifically, and they're ashamed of the Bible, even as they produce thought-out defenses for their position. The Bible is clear, and too often professing Christians are simply cowards. They can't stand the ridicule, and in many cases turn on us Bible believers and actually ridicule us for simply believing the Bible as it is written, and for not twisting and torturing the Bible to fit in with the secular fairy tale science, falsely so called. But we can't force anyone, and wouldn't want to force anyone, to believe what the Bible says. We can't make them be honest. As I say on a regular basis, the only person you can control and the only person you will answer for is the one that you see whenever you look in the mirror. Genesis 7 makes it clear. There's no indication of it not being a literal story, gives no indication of it being a non-literal poetic story. Genesis 7:19 and 20 says, "And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered." That is a global flood. If you don't believe that, then you simply don't believe the Bible. Genesis 7:23 says, "And every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle and the creeping things and the fowl of the heaven. And they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark." Don't pretend to believe the Bible and deny what it says. It says what it says. And that's why we find fossils, deep sea creature fossils, and fish on top of mountains. We find fossils of land animals deep in the oceans, in the ocean beds. As Ken Ham is famously quoted as saying, if there really was a worldwide flood, what would the evidence be? Billions of dead things buried in rock layers laid down by water all over the earth. And that's exactly what we find. And we would also expect to find that in most cultures of people on the earth, there would be some memory of this incredible catastrophe. And what do we find? Distorted but similar flood stories among Mesopotamian tribes in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and among the Greeks, Plato's Timaeus. Among the Hindu Indians is the story of Manu, and various versions of a catastrophic flood at the beginning of human history is found among Native American tribes in North and South America, as well as among African tribes. The fact is, if the account of Noah's flood were not attached to the Bible and not an integral part of the story of redemption that culminates in the cross and empty tomb of Jesus Christ, unbelievers would have no problem accepting the flood account. It's not the flood they reject, it's the God of the Bible and the Bible itself which gives us the flood account. But that doesn't stop God's children from seeing and believing the evidence for God, as Paul says in Hebrews 3:12. "Take heed, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God." Stick with God and stick with His book.